Hello friends, welcome to this video. So in this video we will actually build out a Google login and logout application in Flask in Python, which is actually a web application framework for building web applications in browser. So this is actually the demo that you are seeing on your screen right here. We have a button out there with login with Google. So if you basically click this button, you will be able to log in with your Google account, and we will be displaying the details in the browser such as profile picture, email address, and the display name of the user. And we will be storing all these details in the MySQL table right here. I have already created this table. You will see ID is the primary key. This is the email address, name, and the profile picture. So we'll be storing these details. So you will see currently this table is empty right here. Nothing is present. And also if I just show you, we are also having sessions variable as well. So if I just run this application for the very first time, what you will see, python app.py, on the left hand side a folder will be created which will be sessions. So I think Flask login project, I need to run this file python app.py. So now this folder flask underscore session will be created. You will see that. So now your app is running on localhost 5000. So I will simply go to this and click on this button, login with Google. So what will happen, guys, it will actually log in with my Google account, and you will actually see the profile picture. This is actually the display name, email address, and a logout button as well. If I refresh the table right here, you will see an entry will be added right here, which will be, all this information will be coming from Google OAuth2. This is the ID, email address, this is display name, and this is actually the profile picture URL. So we are simply showing these details from the MySQL table. So if I close this browser, reopen it once again, it will automatically detect that we are already logged in. So you will see that. So if I again open another browser window and go to that, if I open a new browser window right here, again go to localhost 5000, it will automatically detect I am already logged in. You will see that. So we now have a logout button right here. If I actually click this logout button, I will be redirected to the home page. Now you can see that if I close this window, it will automatically detect that I am already logged out. So that's why it will show me this login to continue button. So in this way you can do that, and all the session information is stored inside this folder, guys. You will see every time a user logs in, it creates a new session and it stores inside this file right here that is automatically created. Let's suppose I log in with a different Google account right here. Let me have a different account, localhost 5000, and you can also see the authorization flow as well. If you're doing it for the very first time, it will actually asking you to select your account. You will select your account, you need to grant the permission, click on continue. After doing that, you will be able to see your information. This is actually the display picture, profile picture, display name, and email address. And if you see now, there will be a second entry added inside the flask underscore session folder. And if I also show you the table right here, a second entry will be added right here. You will see that. So in this way, guys, it will be a full complete Google OAuth2 authentication system. We will be developing it with sessions and storing it in MySQL database in Flask in Python. So all the source code is given in the description of the video, guys. If you need the full source code with full documentation and support, you can go to the description and purchase the full source code from my website procodestore.com. And after you purchase it, you will be redirected to Google Drive, where you can actually download this zip file after the payment is done. So the link is given in the description. You will actually need to purchase it if you are interested. So now let's get started. I will show you step-by-step instruction on how to basically build this application. So what I will do right here, I will simply create a new folder right here. Go into my YT projects directory and cd into a new file. I will say Flask login, and open this folder inside VS Code. Currently you will see that currently it is empty, so you need to have Python installed on your machine, guys. I already have the latest version installed, so you need to have Python installed on your machine. So We are using the latest version, which is 3.1.2.2 at the time of recording this video. So it's the latest version. So now what we need to do right here, we do need to install some dependencies. As you know, Flask is a web application framework. You do need to install this module as well, which is a pip install. Pip is actually a dependency manager where we can actually install modules. Flask is the actual web framework. Flask MySQL DB. This is actually the package which allows you to connect your application to MySQL database. So Flask is the actual web application framework. We need to install this. Then we have Flask dash session. So this is required for managing the session inside your Flask application to actually store the information in a session. Then we have OAuth2. OAuth2 is required, guys, because we are making Google authentication request. This is required. Then we also need the request module as well, because we are actually making a request to the API of Google. That's why we need this module. And also we need request OAuth2. This is another module that we need because we are actually making request to an authentication protocol. So these are the dependencies we will need: Flask, MySQL DB, Flask session, OAuth2 request, and request OAuth2. Simply enter it, and I have already installed these modules, so it will hardly take 5 to 10 seconds and it will install it. Now you just need to make a file inside your root directory, app.py. So right inside this file, we need to first of all import the Flask module, and we need to here import the base Flask module, and we also need to, now after we do this, so what I will do is that I will first of all import all the dependencies. So right here, if you see, we are importing Flask. We also need to import the redirect module as well. We also need URL underscore for and also session. And also we need the request module as well from this base JSONify and render template. These are all the modules that we need from Flask library. And from Flask underscore session, we need to import the base session class, and from Flask MySQL DB, we need to import the base MySQL class to actually make the connection to the database. And then the built-in module, which is JSON, which is built-in Python module. We need not have to install it. And also we need to import the request module as well that we installed now to make request. And then from OAuth2, we here need to import a class which is called as web application client. We need to import this, and also we need to import the base operating system module as well. We need this. We need to set a simple environment variable right here to actually enable HTTP, which is insecure, because we are building it on localhost. That's why if you don't just set this environment variable, you will get an error that you need to have HTTPS. So while we are developing it, we can enable this unsecure. So if you are doing it for production, just remove this line. So we do need to set this environment variable, which is OS environment. So this will be a simple variable, OAuth lib insecure underscore transport is equal to 1. In single quotes, you need to just write here. So that's all. And now we just need to get some information right here. This is Google underscore client ID. All this information you will get from Google Cloud Console. I will just show you. Just wait. And we will basically also have one more variable for storing the Google client underscore secret. And also we will also have this Google discovery underscore URL. This will be constant, and this will be actually be equal to https accounts.google.com/well-known/openid configuration. So this will be constant. You just need to write this. It will be redirected to you once you want to do the authentication, you will be redirected to this URL. And now we just need to make a simple Flask app. So app is equal to Flask, the base, and here we need to pass the name of the app as an argument, and then we need to set a secret key right here for the session, app._secret key, and we will use the base operating system module, and we will use this urandom method and 24. So what it will do, it will actually generate a 24-digit random key, and it will set this to the secret key of the app. This is really useful because we are using session here, Flask_session, so this secret key is required. If you don't set it, you will get an error. So after you do this, we also need to do the session configuration as well. The session configuration. So these are some of the settings that you need to just do. App.config, and here what we will do, session_type. This type will be, we will be storing the session information in the file system in a folder. So file system is there, so it will actually create a folder right here in the root directory where we will be storing all the session details. App.config, one other setting is session_permanent. This is actually a boolean value, either it can be true or false. We don't want to store the information for permanently wise. You can even set this to true as well, that in that case your session information will be stored permanently, but we don't want to store it permanently, that's why we'll put false right here. And then you start the session by using session class and passing the app reference as an argument. This will now start the session. So what it will do right here, if you just see, if you now run this project, let me just start this application first of all and tell you. If you want to start this application, you will write the main function which is required for every Python application. So if name double equal to main, then we need to run this application on port number 5000, like this. So if you just see here, if I run this application, a folder will be created on the left hand side. I think you will now see a folder is created which is Flask_session. So this is coming because we have set this to file system, because the information of the session will be storing on a folder. This folder will automatically gets created. This is happening because of this module Flask_session. So it has automatically created this folder as we run this code. So now what we need to do right here, we now need to actually create a database. So for managing our database, we are actually using phpMyAdmin, which comes with the exam control panel, which is part of Apache server MySQL. Whenever you are building PHP applications, we download exam control panel. It's a cross-platform software. If you just write here exam control panel download, it is available for Windows, Linux and Mac. The very first link which comes right here, just install it for your respective operating system. I've already installed it, so we started this Apache server and MySQL. Go to admin section right here, and right here go to SQL. We will write some SQL query right here to actually create a database. So what I will do, I will say create database, and I will call this as Flask login semicolon, and then we will use this database Flask login, and inside this database we'll create a table, create table users. So far guys, we have written 3 lines of code. First of all, we are creating this database Flask login, and then we are using this database, and then inside that database we are creating the table which is called as users. So right inside this we will mention ID will be actually the primary key, so varchar and 255 variable characters, and it will be not null, and it will be the primary key of the table. It will be unique every time. Then we have the email, which is again will be a varchar, the length here will be 255 and it will be not null. And then we hold basically our name. Again, this will be varchar 255. Lastly, we will hold actually the profile picture link. Varchar 255. So that's all, guys. You will see we are storing 4 fields, which is ID, primary key here, email, display name, and profile picture. So there is actually a go button right here. If you execute the SQL query, your database will get created. If you see Flask login, where is this? This is actually database created. Inside that database, we have a table also created automatically. And inside, if I show you the structure of the table, we have 4 fields right here. ID is the primary key, email address, name, and profile picture. So now our database and table has been created. Now we can actually make a connection right here inside the Flask app. So we need to write some code for this. So after you define your session information right here, just after this session, we will now be writing a simple comment for configuring our MySQL configuration. So right here we need to set some variables for this. So app.config, we need to set the host information. We are developing it on the local environment, so this will be localhost. And then we have to set the username and password. So default username for example is root. If you haven't changed the settings, the default settings are root. And the password will be nothing. Default password is nothing. So I will say, and then we need to define the database name. So whatever database that you have defined, MySQL DB. So my database name is Flask login. And then we will make the connection. We will call the base MySQL class and pass the app reference right here. You can see that. So we have set all these variables and then we pass this as a reference to the MySQL connection class that we imported at the very top from Flask _ MySQL DB. So after you make the connection, now what we can do right here, we can actually OAuth2 client setup. We need to get this information, which is client ID and client secret. Now to make a new client, we'll invoke the web application client class that we imported and pass the Google _ client ID. So first of all, we need to get both this Google client ID and client secret. So we are developing our application on localhost. Let me change this to 3000. So this application now will run on localhost 3000. So if I restart the application right here, if I make the changes, so now you will see the app will listen on localhost 3000. This is actually the base URL of the application. Now you need to go to Google Cloud Console and you need to have a simple project created right here. So the very first link which comes right here, simply click and go to Google Cloud Console, and you do need to have a project created. I've already have a project, and go to the menu right here. It is totally free. You don't need to pay any side of money for this. Go to APIs and credentials, go to credentials, and right here just create your client ID. Click on this button, create a credentials and OAuth client ID, and here you need to select your application type. So this will be a web application. Simply select. Here you need to paste your base URL. In my case, it will be http _ localhost 3000. If you are developing it for production, you need to simply paste your URL of your production level website. So this will be http localhost 3000, and then the redirect URI. Redirect URI, I will simply say /login /callback. This will be the actual callback URL. Whenever you grant the access, what URL your application will redirect. So I will simply make this URL pattern /login /callback later on whenever we do the callback configuration. So this will be our callback URL of the application. So after you do this, simply click on create, and And now it will give you your information, client ID and client secret. So don't copy this information, this is unique to every user. So simply paste it, and so I have already pasted the Google client ID, client secret. Now what we need to do, we need to simply define a route inside our web application. So app dot route. If someone goes to the home page, what they see, we'll define a function which will be index, and here we will basically return a template to the user. So we will use basically the render template, and we will show the login.html page to the user when someone goes to the home page. Now we need to create a templates folder. By default, all the templates are stored inside this folder. Flask will look inside this folder whenever a index route is hit right here. So this render template will look inside the templates folder. Now we just need to define this login.html file, and we will using the Tailwind CSS for styling purposes. So we will say Flask Google OAuth login and a logout system. So here we do need to paste Tailwind CSS. If you don't know about Tailwind, it's actually a very good utility based classes framework where you don't need to write CSS. You can attach pre-built classes to your HTML, paste the CDN here for Tailwind. Now what we need to do, it's very easy. After you do this, we need to attach some classes to the body, which is background BG gray. These are classes, shade here 100, flex, items, center, justify, center, edge, screen. So inside this we will actually be defining a div which will have a background color white, padding 8, P8, rounded on large devices, and it will have a shadow on medium devices, max width on small devices, and width will be full, text center. So these are, you can see all these classes are pre-built, and inside this we will have a text heading, 2HXL, font bold MB6. We will simply say login to continue or login with Google. So if you just now refresh the application, if I go to localhost 3000, what we will see, if I just refresh, I just need to refresh the application first of all. You will actually see login with Google right here. If you see, we do need to center this out. BG gray 100, flex, item center, justify center, not double R was the mistake. And if you just refresh right here, I think there is an additional setting that you can do right here inside this, debug to true. I think you can pass this setting, and if you make any sort of changes, it will automatically refresh. So you don't need to restart the server once again. You will see if you make any sort of changes right here, you log in with Google, and if I go to the login HTML, and if I, let's suppose if I make a change, I think it will automatically detect it. You will see that. So just pass this option of debug to true for local. It's very helpful. And go to here. After doing this, we will actually be having so we can basically give it this heading right here, login to continue, and then we will actually be having a href tag which will go to /login, and this will actually say to the user that login with Google. We will have to have some classes right here, Tailwind classes, BG blue 500. When we hover onto this button, the BG blue will change to 700, text will be white, font bold, py2, px4, and it will be rounded. So these are all the classes that we attached right here. You will say slash login is not defined. We need to define this route right here inside our app.py file. So right here we will define this request which will be coming from the slash login. So now we need to define this route slash login. So this will be a method, define login. Now here we need to simply define a variable here, Google underscore provider configuration settings, CFG. So we will say get underscore Google. So we need to define this method which will actually get these settings for us, get Google underscore provider CFG. So we need to define this method right here at the top. So what I will do right here, just see. I think this method is available right here. If you see a original code right here, where is this method? Yeah, this is actually the method we need to define right here. Just after you do this, this is actually the method that you see right here. So what this method will do, it will actually go to this URL that we defined, which is Google underscore discovery URL, and it will actually get the JSON of it. We are using the request module, request.get Google discovery URL that we defined early on. If you see Google discovery URL, and it will go to this URL. So basically if you go to this URL, it will actually show you all the accounts that you have, all this information that you have. It will actually need to get this JSON information right here. So we are actually going to this URL programmatically and getting all this JSON data, and we are actually returning it from this function. So you will see that. So we are getting this information inside this variable Google underscore provider configuration. Now what we need to do right here, we need to actually have an authorization endpoint where we can actually get the authorization code. So Google underscore provider configuration, and here we need to get this authorization endpoint, and then we need to simply set the request URL. So client.prepare. These are different methods available pre-built inside this library. If you want to get the access token, if you want to get the authorization code, we need to get the authorization code for this. We need to simply say prepared request URI, prepare request URI, and right here we need to pass the authorization endpoint. We need to say redirection URI is equal to the request dot base URL plus we need to simply say slash callback, and then we need to say the scope. So what sort of information that you need to get. So we need to get the profile and the email of the user. So we'll say scope. We need to get the open ID. We need to get the email address. We need to get the profile of the user. So these three things we need, and after that we need to return this redirect. We need to redirect the user to this request URI. So now if you click this button, if you go to localhost 3000, if you click this button right here, we need to restart the application. sorry, this is localhost 3000. Click on this button and you will be redirected to your set of Google accounts that you can select right here. And so now if I select this account right here and grant the permission, so what it will do, it will try to access the callback URL that you provided inside your Google Client Console. So you will actually see it will go to this URL, but it is saying that not found. If you see the address bar /login/callback, and it is returning this authorization code right here. This is actually the value that we need. So now we need to get the access token using this authorization code. So access token is really important because in order to access any Google API, you need the access token. Now how we can get that access token? We need to get this authorization code value that you see right here and exchange it for access token. So it's very easy. We need to define this callback URL. So right here, app.route and /login/callback, and we will actually be defining this. We need to get the authorization code value from the URL. So now to get that value, we define the code store request.arguments.get, and that was the code argument. We will store the authorization code in this variable and then simply say Google_provider_CFG get Google configuration. We again call this function and token_endpoint and Google_provider configuration, and we need to now get this URL, which is token_endpoint, in order to get the access token. So token_URL headers body, and here we need to prepare it for now the token request. We now need to get the access token. For getting the access token, we need to provide the token endpoint. We need to provide the authorization response, which will be equal to the request.url, and then we need to say redirection URL will be request.base URL, and the code, authorization code, we need to provide. So this will be equal to code is equal to code, and then after that our token response. What will be the token response coming? We now need to make a post request using this information that we got, which is the token URL, and the headers will be equal to headers. The data will be equal to which is available inside the body that we defined. If you see the body, and then the authorization. So this will be equal to, we are providing the Google client ID, Google client secret to get the access token. So now we need to make this request client.parse request body response, and here we will say json.dumps token response.json. So after you get this, you will actually get your user information endpoint. We will say Google provider configuration, and now here we need to get the user info endpoint. We need to get the endpoint where we can request the user information. So we can simply say here URI headers body, and we'll say client.add token user info dot underpoint. So user info response, we'll say request.get URI headers is equal to headers, and data is equal to body. So here we actually have a if condition right here. If user info response JSON contains, if you want to get only the verified email address. So if this contains a property called as email verified, in that case only we need to get the information. So unique ID we will get, which it is user info response JSON, and we need to have this property which will be sub. Similarly, we'll get the email address, display name, and the profile picture, which will user email, user info response.json. So what I will do, I will simply copy this two more time for the profile picture and the username. So this will be picture, and this will be given name, the display name of the user of the account, and I will say user's name. So now we need to actually store this information in the session. So we will basically make a session variable, session user. This will be an object. We will store the ID of the user, which is a unique ID. We will store the email address, which will be user's email, and we will store the display name, which is user's name. We will store the picture as well, which is actually the picture. So after you store this information, guys, we do need to also store this user info in database as well. So for storing it, we actually need to say MySQL dot connection. We need to make the connection first of all, cursor. This is the actual method. After we do this, we need to execute a very simple command, which is replace into the table name, which is users ID, email, name, picture, and then followed by the values. So whatever is the values, we actually need to give the placeholders. Like this, and here we just need to give the comma right here, and then we need to say unique ID, users email, users, and just you need to close this. I think I forgot to do this, and right here unique ID, users name, users email, users name, and picture. That's all. After this MySQL dot connection, and we need to commit and close the connection, cursor close, and then we need to redirect the user back to the index route, or else there is also a else block as well, because we have that if block right here, if request. So if the email is not verified, in the else block we can simply say that user email not available or not verified by Google. So we are only taking the verified emails only. We will return a 400 request, that's all. So now we just need to modify the index route right here just a little bit. So whenever someone goes to the home page, we just need to check right here if they are in the session or not. So we will actually have a condition right here just to check that if the currently logged in user is logged in or not, it is available in session or not. If they are in session, in that case we will return a different template, which will be profile.html. We will pass the user, which will be coming from the session, so session user. So now if they are not in the session, in the else block we can show this login page. So conditionally we are rendering it based upon if the user is available in session, then we show the profile HTML. If they are not in session, then we show the login.html. Now we need to define this this file, which is profile.html. So this will also be the profile page of the user. Once they are authenticated, we again need to use the Tailwind CSS CDN of simply copy this and simply after the title paste it. So right here, for displaying the user information, it's very easy. Again, you will use the same Tailwind classes, bg gray 100, flex item center, justify center, horizontal screen, and here you will simply LG shadow these are all the Tailwind classes that we gave early on as well. So inside this we will actually displaying the profile picture of the user, which will be coming dynamically user.picture. So this user object that we are passing it, if you see, we are passing this from the session. So this user is available inside profile HTML using double curly bracket to actually embed the variable user underscore picture. So in Flask you can do this, and we can actually give it a rounded full W24 width 24, horizontal height will be MX H24, MX auto, margin 4. So after this profile picture is there, we need to also give it a heading. So here we need to display the username of the user, display name, user.name. Then we need to give it a paragraph. Here we can actually show the this email address of the user, and so if you just refresh now, try to go to this file, go to localhost 3000, click on this button. So you will be redirected to your selecting your account and click on continue, and it will actually show your profile picture. It will redirect you to the localhost 3000. So you will see that. So if I actually show you the table as well, one entry will be added right here. You will see automatically the previous entry was there. You already logged in with this account, and now this second account is also inserted. So if I go to this localhost 3000, it will automatically detect I'm already logged in. It will show, first of all you need to log in right here. So you will see that the information is displaying successfully, and if I close this now, once again open this, it is stored inside the session, so it will retain this information. You will see that. So in the file system, it has created Flask session. So all this session information is stored inside the file system in this folder. So now at last we just need a logout button to actually let the user log out or delete it from the session. So /logout. So here we can simply say logout and give it a button, bg red 500. These are all Tailwind classes, guys. So this tutorial is about Flask, not Tailwind. So you can read more about their documentation. So there will be this button added, logout, and we do need to actually make this logout request, which is very simple code right here. If you simply go to this, it will be not found. So just go to app.py and just define this request also. At last, app.route/logout. So here what we need to do, we need to clear out the session. It contains pop method. We need to delete the session, delete the user from the session, and then redirect the user to the index route. So in that scenario, the user session will not be available. In that case, it will actually go to the home page, home route, and now it will show the login.html. So click on logout. We do need to restart the application for this. So it will automatically detect if I say login. If I click logout, it will redirect me to the home page. You will now see. If I close this, so you can see that. So in this way, guys, you can actually build out this complete Google user OAuth2 login and logout system in Flask in Python. We have shown you how to display it from step by step, and we are storing this information in MySQL database as well. So if you are interested, the full source code with documentation is present. You can purchase it from my website procodestore.com. The link is given in the description. And thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well, and I will be seeing you in the next video.